Hi, and welcome to the DIY Photo Organising podcast, focusing on topics to help you with your photo management. I'm Fiona from Photo Helper.
And I'm Chantal from Photos in Order. Hello, Fiona.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Fabulous.
We've got a happy day today.
We
started our podcast 2 years ago. Yay.
Happy birthday to us. Yay.
We always find a reason to celebrate.
That's exactly right. So thank you, Chantal, for all the inspiration you have shared and coming along on this journey with me. It's been a real privilege and a joy, and I really hope that others have enjoyed us being on the air of in the podcast world. It really is such a worthy topic, I think, to talk about our photos. And so here's to 2 years and more to come.
Here. So what?
Yeah.
Likewise. We really do like to work together, and it's so much fun. So glad you're in my life.
Yeah, we're lucky.
And it's always a good time. So, and thanks to the listeners, of course, to be here. Yeah. And that brings me to the fact that this is actually a video. So when you're on the podcast, you can hop over to Facebook or to our website to watch the video. If hearing us is not enough.
Exactly. So what are we talking about today?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh, I go. Okay. So today is another question people ask. And today we want to answer the question, how do I share photos with others? Because last time we actually talked about how to gather photos from other people, and now it's about the sharing. That's sort of the other end of the process. So we've got a few ideas here for you. Do you want to start off, Fiona?
Sure. So there's a few things we thought that we would talk about initially. So remember, as we always suggest, have a routine. Having a good routine, so whatever sort of system you use for sharing, just keep it regular, so then you don't get confused of who you've shared with and what you're sharing and how frequently or whatever like that. So just have yourself a regular routine. We suggest a monthly sort of a process is usually a good one. And then when we're talking about sharing, we're talking about sharing with other people, but also if this is your own hub, you could share with yourself. So that could be something that will just explain what we mean when we're talking about all the different sharing options. And one we just want you to think about up front before we go into the next bit of detail is why you're sharing, because that will have an impact on the way that you share your photos. Mm-hmm. So as a little catchphrase to remember, you can either share for information to somebody or for preservation. So that's the way that we thought that we would sort of break up this little bit of, a tidbit, question people ask for the answer to that. Think about why you're sharing them. So is it information? Just a catch up. It's a beautiful sunset. Here's this meal I had. We're at the beach, or we're out of lockdown, or something like that. It's just a quick snapshot that you're sharing. Or are you sharing for preservation? So you're sharing a quality photo that you want somebody else to have in their hub. So different ways that we're going to talk about that. So we're talking about information or preservation.
Love that.
So how about you start us off there, Chantal?
Yeah, okay. So let's start with the once-off sharing. I think that's probably the easiest and possibly the one that happens most of the time. As you just said, we're somewhere and we take a good shot or a funny shot or something, and we want to share that directly from our phone camera roll. We're talking phones here. We'll get to the real cameras a bit later because you can't usually send photos directly from your good camera. It's the phone. So from your phone, it's easy as go, open your photos and click on your share button, and you will see all the share options there anyway. So it depends on the phone. If you've got an iPhone, it will give you options like, you know, send an email, WhatsApp, messages, Facebook Messenger, or send to Facebook, send to an album. There's a whole lot of different ways you can do it with a couple of clicks, and you send it. You could airdrop it, even if you're an iPhone user and you've got another iPhone user, you can airdrop it to that phone. So it's really easy and a quick thing. And the reason we're saying or differentiate between the once-off and what we're going to talk about next, where it's more of a constant, is also the quality of the sharing. But I think we'll get back to that. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Perfect. So with the one for this once-off sharing, that could be either sharing for information or sharing for preservation. So it really is, again, when you look at the reason that you're sharing a photo, you could just send a quick text, just, you know, with, you know, I'm at this place, or, you know, isn't this a great funny shot, or whatever it is, or and that's just an informational sort of a photo. It doesn't really, you know, they might keep it, they might delete it. But when you're sharing sort of a once-off type photo in this method with either a text or a you know, you've airdropped it or something like that, it's just one way. So it's going and it's gone and they've got it. So whether they keep that in their hub or whatever they do with that, that then has been sent. So if you're wanting them to have that because maybe they're going to get a canvas printed of that photo because they love it and they want it, then you want to make sure that you're sending it not via Facebook. You know, you're sending the highest quality photo. So that would be then for preservation. So it's just a once off. You've just sent it off to them. But just look at that method that you're using. So that's what we were talking about. Look at those options of what it is you're sending it for.
Yeah.
Because it really will determine the best way to share that photo.
Yes.
So we've got this once off quick sort of a send an email or a text or whatever, and then they've got the photo. What's another way that they could share photos, Chantal?
So we could use a more constant connection. And what we mean by that is sharing through a link, or it can be also a folder or an album, depending on what service you use. So basically you invite somebody with a link to some shared photos. Now, obviously, you know, you can't do that on your camera or anything like that. So what you would do, you would have a cloud account, and that can be, there's so many different ones, you know, Google Photos, SmugMug, Dropbox, Flickr, all these sort of services where you can have an account. You upload your photos to that, where you know, the photos you want to share, upload them, and then all people need is a link to that folder. Let's say if you do that in Dropbox, you would have a folder and share that folder with somebody. Or if you have, let's say, a Flickr account, you could actually share a whole account with somebody. That's how I do it, because I manage our family photo hub, and as a last step of the process, I upload my photos to Flickr. And my husband's got the login to that Flickr account, so I shared a whole account, and that way he can see our complete family hub, but it's independent. It's not synchronizing or anything, so nobody can damage anything by accident.
Yeah.
It's safe. It's just really a way to share. And I do the same thing with Google Photos. That's the only thing I use Google Photos for. I wouldn't use it for anything else, but for sharing purposes like that, it's really great. And it works, and it's good fun. And again, you can share either parts of it or the whole account, and that's quite easy. And that method is probably better if you want to share for preservation purposes rather than just information, because I mean, there is differences too. You got to read the small print, but mostly, you know, they don't compress files. Some of them keep all the metadata intact, but again, not all of them. So you got to find out which one is really good if you want to share for the purpose of preservation.
And people can download from that link usually as well. So it's sort of achieving the outcome of just, if they want one photo, like I said before, maybe to print as a canvas, then they could look through that whole album and decide which one they want, and then not all of them, but most of the places that we're talking about creating a link to, say, a folder or a shared location, they can download that photo. Again, that's in your settings of the program. So I use the Smug Mug as my sort of sharing like that. Just one thing I wanted to say with this is we're not talking about your hub here. So not necessarily. I sort of say that because maybe someone does have a forever account and that is their hub. You know, there's so many different options. If you've been with us for 2 years, you've realised there's a lot of options out there. But we're just talking about a way to share your photos. It may be your hub, but we're not necessarily talking about sharing your hub. We're just talking about how can you share photos. So just going back to that, like I've got my hub, which is on an external hard drive. I've got my 3 copy backups. I also then upload that to a SmugMug account, which is, you could call it another copy of a backup if you wish. It's the full library. But it's that's really just for the purposes of sharing. So I don't have all the different folders and things like that. It's a searchable database. But then because of the way that the settings are in that program or the different album that I'm using, will determine how people can download the photo. Yeah.
And you can actually allow or not allow download, I think.
That's right.
Yes.
Yep. So most of the time it's a downloadable, in the different app. But again, that's in the settings.
That's a really good point. And again, as you say, in taking your case, you upload everything to SmugMug, but from within there, you can then, of course, share individual photos or albums with specific people, and a lot of it is really in the settings, and they're all different. So that's why we say, you got to do a little bit of research when you do that and try things out and find out which, if it is for preservation. Another example is if you work with family photos and let's say you want to share them with the wider family that are, all over the world, possibly.
Yeah.
Then the cloud is great, but again, not Facebook. You need some good quality service like Forever or SmugMug that doesn't strip the metadata of these files and keeps them intact. So, you got to do some research there, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. So I think just to sort of keep it simple, when you're thinking about which way you want to share your photos, first of all, think about, am I just giving them some information? Is this just something for information, or are they, the person that I'm sending it to, wanting to preserve that photo? So that's got to be a big determination of which way you go about sharing. And then also just remember that there's a one-way sharing, so you've just sent it and now they've got that photo. So that's, your WhatsApp and your all different Snapchat, or you've got, whatever, email, text and things like that. Or you've got a structure with a link, and that's where you can update that folder, and then they can see the new photos that you've put in there. You need to still manually do that. So again, there's a lot of different options, but we thought that this was just a good opportunity to help you decide which way, because it really is an issue with Chantal. I think people do struggle, and because they then do it in all different sort of manner of ways, it can get kind of confusing. If I thought I sent you that, or did I? And then they don't know what they've sent them. And just pick a good method that works for you. And like most things, if you have a little system and you make it a regular process, then it's easy and it's not too confusing.
Now, so before we go, we also going to touch very briefly, we just want to mention it, so because these are sharing options too. So another sharing option might be your smart TV. Depending on what TV you have and what hardware, you can actually stream your photos or slideshows and things like that directly to your TV and enjoy your photos that way and share them that way. And then the other thing that we thought also that we shouldn't forget about is anything printed with photos. So photo books, or as you mentioned, canvases, things like that before, that is really sharing too. So that's another option. Yeah, so don't forget that every printed photo in whatever way is also a backup. So you've got a double win there.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, I think that's it for today. So happy second birthday again.
Yes, and to you too.
Thanks to our listeners to be here, to join us, to be so loyal, and we really hope, you get something out of our tips and get some joy from your photos rather than stress and overwhelm.
Yes, absolutely.
So thanks so much for joining us as always, and you'll find any links in the show notes. And as you know, we're always happy to receive feedback or more questions through our socials or emails. You find it all on the show notes. And that's it for today. So I'm Chantal from Photos in Order.
And I'm Fiona from Photo Helper. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.